First of all, let me thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. It's my first time in Tennessee, and it's very exciting for me. I'm going to talk to you about diversity in technology and why I think it's important. And I'm going to speak to you from the perspective of gender diversity, because this is the thing I personally have the most experience with. But much of what I'm going to talk about applies to any kind of diversity. So let's start with a day in my life. My day frequently starts at 5 a.m. with a video conference call to India, go on to a WebEx with a customer in the UK at 6 a.m., drive to work with Pandora streaming through my phone for my music. I then conference in with New York, with different places around the globe, working with my sales team and my engineering team. I'll go to the gym on the way home, swim a mile or more, have dinner with my family, shop, bank, go back online, and finish up my work before I go to bed. And I can do this from any point in the globe and in any time zone because I have a massively networked mainframe computer in my pocket. We're in the middle of this incredible technology revolution. It's been going on for 40 years, from the mainframe to the microprocessor, to the personal computer, to software, to networks, to the internet. It's fantastic what's happening. It's changing everything about how we live and work. And yet half our workforce makes up less than 5% of the leadership in this revolution. Half our workforce is less than 1 in 5 of the technology-related jobs. So why would you care? Why does this matter? We're here to grow our companies and make money, right? Not to be politically correct. We care for two really important reasons. We need to care for innovation, and we need to care to make sure we have enough engineers in our workforce as a country. There are two aspects associated with innovation that are really important. Innovation starts with something we now understand as cognitive diversity. People who have different backgrounds think differently, whether they're different gender, sexual orientation, national origin, race. If you can build a team that is cognitively diverse, you have a much higher probability of creating something called creative abrasion. Creative abrasion is where people don't necessarily agree. If you want to build a team that's going to do the same thing over and over again in the same way, you do not want that team to be diverse. You want them to be the same. But if you want them to solve a really hard technology problem, you want them to be diverse so that they look at the problem from different perspectives. Creative abrasion leads to higher levels of innovation. We can see this in our patents in the United States. It turns out that patents that are authored by mixed gender teams are 35 to 40% more likely to be cited than patents that are created by single gender teams. The reason is because if you have a multi-gender team, you are more likely to look at a technology problem and come at it from all angles and produce a more fundamental solution. The more fundamental and foundational the patent is, the more likely it's going to be cited. And yet, 91% of the patents in the United States in technology since 1980 are authored by male-only teams. Doesn't make any sense, right? I see this every day at FirstRain. FirstRain is in the business of enterprise customer intelligence. We have an analytics software package that we sell effectively to major account sales teams. These are major account sales teams in technology, pharmaceuticals, materials, industrials, sales teams who have big quotas and they need to really understand their customers. And our technology transforms the massive information on the web into a massively networked database that you can mine as a sales team to understand the trends and changes that are impacting your customers. It's very heavy technology, and we need to innovate on a continuous basis to stay up on the algorithms, to stay up with the changes in the web, and stay on top of how we have the fastest, smoothest, easiest to use, most relevant intelligence for the world's best sales teams. I see the diversity at work in my own company. We're unusual. At the top of my engineering team, I have men and women leaders. At the architect level, I have men and women. It's very unusual. My own story, as I was introduced, of being a mathematician, and I had technology jobs and marketing jobs, and then did my own company, which I took public and sold, and then retired, and I failed at that, so I did another one. My own story is very unusual, and there's no reason for it to be so unusual, except that I can tell you from personal experience, you have to make some really tough sacrifices to be a woman in technology. It can be tough, and it can be isolating. When my daughter was 6 years old, I went to her kindergarten classroom for her graduation. And as we walked home from school, it might have been the first time I'd been in her kindergarten classroom, she's holding my hand and we're walking up the hill to the house, and my daughter says to me, "Mommy, how come you're the only mother that never volunteered in the classroom this year?" Can you imagine what that feels like? Trying to explain to a 6-year-old about my passion for equality of opportunity and how I want to make a difference. And to this little girl, it meant nothing. When my son was 8 years old, I was at Simplex, and I was CEO and I was VP of sales as well at the time. And it was the last day of the quarter, and we were finishing up revenue, which in a software business means you're closing deals, you're talking to customers, you're trying to figure out what you're going to ship so you can hit your revenue targets. And it was the middle of the afternoon, and my phone rang, and I remember answering the phone, and it was the nurse at the school. And the nurse said, "Mrs. Herscher, I'm sorry to tell you that your son has fallen off the monkey bars and broken his arm. Could you please come and get him?" And I'm standing in the office thinking, what do I do now? I have to finish up my quarter, but my 8-year-old has broken his arm. So I did the right thing. I got in the car, and I went to school. And as I walked into the nurse's office, this little kid cried for the first time, his face crumpled. And he said, "Mom, I can't believe you came. It's the last day of the quarter." Totally true story. My kids, who are now 18 and 20, have so many stories like that. And it's a tough set of choices that you make. And as a result, half of the women in technology drop out in the first 10 years. They either drop out in the undergrad stage, or they drop out in the early stages of their career as they enter their childbearing ages. And yet that is a huge problem for us as employers. This is not only a women's issue. Dual career couples are now the norm. Going forward, less than 1 in 5 of our families will have the traditional model of the mother staying home and raising the children. 4 out of 5 will have dual career couples. So for us as employers, we have to solve this problem. We have to figure out how to get more workers into technology and how to help them stay in technology. And I believe there are 2 really important things that every one of us in this room can do today to make a difference. The first is get out into the middle schools. Girls start self-selecting out of technology in middle school, in 7th and 8th grade. But we need more kids, of both male and female, to go into technology and stay in technology. So talk to your kids, talk to their friends, go into their classroom, talk to their classes, but most importantly, talk to your daughters. Girls that graduate with STEM degrees, that is science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, will earn 30% more money as they graduate from college than girls who don't. There are more jobs. It's where the jobs are going to be. Technology is going to continue to be a massive growth area. And so encourage your daughters to study STEM subjects. The second thing we can do is create a flexible work environment. I told you a bit about my crazy day. The first 15 years of my career, I could not do that. I never had dinner at home in the week. I never had dinner with my children when they were little, because I would have to stay at the office to get my work done. With the invention of the BlackBerry and internet at home, I was suddenly able to change my life and have dinner with my children and work after dinner. We as employers can create very, very flexible work environments for our employees. I want to be able to hire my brilliant architect in Maryland who can't move to California because of where his family needs to be. I want to be able to have my smart UI leader out of Gurgaon, India, who's willing to work at night, to work with the UI team in California, and who brings an incredibly different view of user interface into my products. I think we all want that, because by creating a very flexible work environment, we can recruit the best technology-related workers, and more importantly, we can keep them in the workforce. We don't have to lose half our women. If we only have 1 in 5 graduated from college, that means that we have less than 1 in 10 by the time they're 40 years old. We don't have to lose them. But I think it's about our ability to provide an incredibly flexible work environment. Let people work from home, let them work wherever and whenever so they can go to the doctor's visit. They can pick their kid up at school when he breaks his arm. We're in the middle of a technology revolution, and it's an incredibly exciting place to be. We have 1,000 open technology-related jobs here in Nashville. We have 1 open job in Silicon Valley for every 2 that are employed in technology. But by 2016, as a country, we'll be graduating less than 50% of the technology-related workers that we need. So every one of us can make a difference by influencing our kids, and every one of us can make a difference by creating a very flexible, fast-paced and fun technology work environment for the kids coming out of college. It's really exciting, and I just ask you to help us get more people into technology. Thank you for the opportunity.